Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back. Let's get started. Okay, so contesting the E file. We've got about equal material, although I'm not checking the pawns, but just rooks, minor pieces, and queens. We do have opposite color bishops, but that's not really too important generally. Although in a lot of middle game situations, it means you want to be the side that has an attack. But we kind of knew that going into a tactical puzzle. Now, okay, the king looks pretty safe, although we do have the rook on 7th rank. But a lot of our pieces aren't really around the king. They're around the queen, which has limited squares almost. But also, whatever we do, they can take on e1 with check, so we have to take that into consideration. Maybe it makes sense to start with rook takes e8 and then do something. But let's see what the idea actually is. Okay, I'm not seeing any candidate moves. I'm looking at like bishop b4, but like everything, okay, rook takes e1. I don't really see a queen trap. Looking at rook f7. Looks like it just loses material. Can we... I'd like to take on d5 with the queen at some point. And get to the 7th rank. So maybe rook takes e8. If bishop takes, queen takes d5. And then maybe we're going to... I have no clue. Now I'm kind of liking knight b5. Wondering about knight b5 with the idea of rook takes a7 trapping the queen. Maybe that's the queen trap. Problem is after knight b5, they do have d4 hitting our queen. And if we move up like queen b4, then the queen can take on a2. Although I wonder if it's still trapped. But the thing is, and the question is, does rook takes e8 first make a difference? So knight b5. Let's say rook takes e1, bishop takes e1, and d4. And queen b4, they have queen a5. Might not be the queen trap. Or what if... Okay, what if rook takes e8, and the idea is if... Okay, bishop takes, maybe we go for queen d5. But if rook takes e8, like they take back with their f rook. Then we go knight b5. If they push d4, we can checkmate them. We can take on f7 with the queen and then take on g7. And so after rook takes e8, knight b5. They can go rook a8, I guess. Oh, I might not be trying to trap the queen. Well, let's see. Do I want to go knight b5 or rook takes e8 right now? I'm going to go rook takes e8. Okay. Now, if knight b5 here and rook a8, I like rook takes f7, king takes f7, queen d5, check. And also, it's a double attack because we'll hit the rook on a8. So that's what I'll do. This was pretty difficult. Oh, I got it wrong. So just there immediately. Go to analysis board. So it was pretty difficult. And the king takes. Did it just good enough to win? And what was wrong with this? Okay, first I just want to see this line. Yeah, so this would win for us. But they like rook d8. Oops. They like rook d8. And after this, queen c8. Oh, so that was never a queen trap. The queen could just always get to c8. Yeah, that was bad calculation by me. So yeah, knight b5, rook takes a7 is not trapping the queen. Okay. So yeah, I still would have had a hard time deciding to give up the rook for the bishop and then taking the pawn. In a normal game, I would do something like this, but I didn't expect it to be the answer to the tactical puzzle. Let me see. Top mistake is rook takes f7 on move 1. Okay, so let's see that. Rook takes f7. So rook takes e1. Bishop takes. And now we do get this pawn still, but we're down material. So they just pretty much have a rook for the bishop. And their king is much safer than in the other line. And okay, 2 knight b5. Is that what I played? Yeah, 2 knight b5 was what I played. So they could just escape that kind of idea. So maybe a lot of people that played knight b5 had the same thinking that I did, that you would trap the queen. And knight b5 on move 1 was the next most common. Knight b5 here. I think I was leaning towards this. And it looks like d4 is the best move against it. And so yeah, the only move that draws for white would be rook takes f7, and that takes away your the idea that doesn't even work. You're giving up the rook. Oh, they don't have to do that though. Then you take the e8 rook. But they give a check first. And now they can take. And so now there's no more tactic. And they're up a rook for a bishop again. And an extra pawn. So yeah, that was very instructive for me. Okay, so we're going to try another one. Alright, their king is very exposed. It's the first thing to notice, so maybe we're looking for checkmate or big material wins. I do see knight f7 would win the h8 rook. But what else? What else is there? I don't see a good way to take advantage of the king and queen being on the d file. Nothing else is guarding d1 except the rook. In a lot of situations, we should look out for bishop e3 check. And other than that, let's just try to calculate, see if there's a checkmate, see if there's anything else. The king can't go to c8 or e8. Bishop b6 looks interesting. A lot of squares are cut off. If they go to d7 or e7, does queen f7 make sense? Or does queen f7 now make any sense? Or does knight b7 or knight f7? Those are all the checks. It's got to be one of those. Either knight takes b7 or knight takes f7 or bishop b6 or queen takes f7. So I'm betting on one of those. And the material is even about. I never really count the pawns, but I'll count them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 6. We're up a pawn. So really just knight takes f7 and knight h8. If there's nothing wrong with that, that should at least be an alt, I believe. Knight takes f7, king moves, knight takes h8. Is knight f4 checkmating us? Can we stop that? And just go queen f1 there. I think so. I think knight takes f7, then knight takes h8. If they play knight f4, just queen f1. Well, let's see if there's a checkmate though. So like bishop b6, king d7, queen takes f7, king d6, queen c7. No. Bishop b6, king d7, queen f7, king d6, bishop c7. That's generally a checkmating pattern with the queen and bishop when they're that far apart. But they go to king c5, and then we have b4 check. Okay, the king is on c5. We played b4. We have a bishop on c7, a queen on f7. The king cannot go to b6, cannot go to d6, can't go to d5, can't go anywhere. So that's checkmate. So after bishop b6, king d7, queen f7, king takes d6, bishop c7, we will checkmate them. So the only other line to check, because the only other move they can go to is e7, is bishop b6, king e7. Then we still have queen f7, and then they're forced to take on d6, so we checkmate them. So we don't go for the rook, we just go for the checkmate. There, queen f7, and then after king takes, it's bishop c7, and king c5, b4 will be checkmate. Okay. So yes, that one, there was a lot of alts in this puzzle. On move 1, knight takes f7 was an alt. King h1 on move 1 was an alt. f4 was an alt. Knight takes b7 was an alt. h3 was an alt. And king f1 was an alt. So that's actually insane. But we didn't give in to the temptation of doing this, even though I suspected heavily that it could be an alt. But yeah, so we just get to checkmate. Let me just go to here and then analysis board. Okay, so let me see what the wrong moves were. Queen f7 on move 1. So yeah, this one, it looks like bishop e3 is the best move for them. So yeah, that's why I pointed out bishop e3 earlier. Like, whatever you do, that's not going to be an immediate forcing move. Like a check, you're going to have to really see what everything that they can do, especially their checks. So now after bishop takes, queen takes, you're not really, this would lose because of this. If you take, you got that. So after that queen check, you have to go to f1, but this is just a draw according to the engine, or at least it might be a slight edge for someone, but it's not gonna be as decisive as the normal solution. So yeah, so after this, you really have to have a plan for how you're going to meet this, and are you going to be able to continue stuff, because maybe the idea for this is to play here checkmate on the next move, because with queen f7 on move 1, you've taken away all of their squares. So once the king is sort of stalemated like this, you just need to deliver one more check to be checkmate, assuming they can't block it or take that piece. Okay, and now we also have 3 queen c7. Oh, here, queen c7. I was looking at that, and the problem was after king here, I didn't see the follow-up. And so because I didn't see the follow-up, I realized, okay, we can just check with this piece, and now the queen is guarding all these, bishop's guarding all these, they're blocked on this side, and so the only square they can go to is here. And so you calculate that in your mind. So you're gonna go here, their only square is here, and then you go again, well, okay, what are my forcing moves? Checks, captures, threats. You got this check, and then you just gotta see what all the legal moves that the king can go to, and then you realize there are none. So this queen is guarding all of these, bishop has these, pawn, well, this pawn already doesn't need to because the queen's good. So yeah. So that's how you do that one. Oh, there's another move we gotta look at though. 4 queen e7. Oh, so they missed mate in 1 and played queen e7. Wait, not there. Queen e7 check. And so what's the problem with this move? It's not leading to checkmate. You have this. Oops. Yeah, the king is oddly safe. So bishop takes e5. They have bishop e3. Now the knight g3 doesn't work because the bishop takes. Or actually, it's not because of that. The bishops are actually attacking the rook on h8. But this king being here is actually very safe. Like, you really have to just calculate it all out. But with these kind of complicated positions, there's a lot of counterintuitive stuff from like your normal positional lessons. But the main drawback of playing queen e7 is that it's not checkmate in one. So that's going back to the basics. Especially like maybe if you saw a lot of this and you calculated that you would do queen e7 to extend it and played it too quickly, that can happen. But also, it's also kind of helpful that every time you play a move, even if you've calculated it all out, do like one last check to make sure that your line makes sense. And then you'll see stuff like, oh, you have mate in one here, even though you calculated some other line that made it more complicated than it had to be. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.